But weird people are the best people because normal people are boring.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
This is A Neighbor's Tale.
Hey there, neighbors. I am here with Nate the Great. Nate the Great. So thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is awesome. Do you mind telling us kind of like a short synopsis of who you are?
My name, as he said, is Nate. Short for Nathaniel. I am from Oregon, the USA. I moved to Japan in Minami-Soma in 2017 as an ALT. I worked for 2.5 years at Odaka Junior High School before I was hired at Minami-Soma City Hall. I tend to go out, take pictures of events that happen in the city.
Over here, weirdo! Nasty. Get a close-up, blank.
I try to translate Japanese to English or English to Japanese for the homepage. And in this situation, a lot of COVID stuff as well in both Japanese and English. Like, I've been studying Japanese for about 12, since I was 15, so a long time. I'm 29.
I didn't know that.
I started studying in my junior year of high school.
Sure.
My major in college in Portland State University was Japanese, and through a lot of those teachers' help, I graduated with honors, like cum laude. And I have a moderate to severe hearing loss, so I'm about a little bit more than half deaf in both ears.
Have you wanted to go back home at all?
Well, actually, no. To be honest, before I left here, I was having a lot of issues with my family, because I like guys and I had certain identity crisis issues in terms of gender and stuff like that. My mom wasn't really accepting. My dad was okay. My sister's a lesbian, so but we don't like each other, so we fight a lot. And my brother, let's just say we have such a huge age difference. When I was going into my senior year, he was just entering his first year of school, kindergarten.
Oh, whoa.
So we have a huge gap between us. So he's basically a stranger to me.
Yeah.
But so because of that, like, my relationship with them is a bit rough. Finally coming to sense with all my feelings and how I felt about them and how they feel towards me, and like where I fit in the world and all of like these issues that I had and what they blamed me for and what I blamed them on. Like, I finally understand like a lot more about myself than I did when I lived with them, and I finally am healing and trying to get over all that. And this is the place that I'm happy that I'm able to do it, and I'm surprised that I was able to find someone who liked me despite all my issues, because he's really weird. But weird people are the best people because normal people are boring.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. We talked about it in the past when I first met you. Depression and anxiety and just all of that, and living in a different country, all the various stressors. How do you manage?
Since I was 2 years old, I had to wear hearing aids because when I was born, I got nerve damage to my neck. They were bright blue, neon green.
Right.
And I was kind of excited to go to school with these because I was like, hey, this is different. Not everybody has these. And so because of that, I had a speech impairment. I couldn't hear. I stuck out like a sore thumb. I was taken out of classes to go to special ed classes. So the students immediately knew I was different. So because of that, I was being verbally bullied, physically bullied, you name it. I was sexually abused when I was in middle school because I trusted someone who I thought was my friend, but at the time I was very young and he was much older than I was. Like, I was only 13, he was like 22 or something. And so lots of things happened. And since then, I've had recurring moments because, again, I inherently like to trust people, but because of that, that puts me at a weak spot because I don't know what other people's intentions are for me. And so over time, I slowly started to develop the anxiety and what I didn't realize at the time was the complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I was trying to hide a lot of myself, but I was still struggling with my hearing, and I knew I was different from everybody else because growing up, I never knew anybody else who had hearing problems. Like I never had any other friends who had hearing problems. The only good that came out of it is my dreams. Like I would have these really vivid dreams that I like to write about and get ideas about, and I draw, and that's how I'd like get over it all. And it all just started to like bottle up, especially then once I got into a relationship. I'm like, how does this person even like me? Like I'm an absolute mess. I'm always sick. I'm always having nightmares. I'm always doubting whether he actually truly likes me or not. I don't like this. I don't like that. Like I had gone through a lot of suicidal phases and tried to a few times, but because of that, I disliked therapists. Like I thought they were more like an interrogation. I think the breaking point was being so sick to the point that I couldn't function. I couldn't sit more than 5 minutes without having to go to the bathroom and being like told constantly, stress. I'm like, am I really that stressed though? I really didn't believe it. I finally went, and I finally took it took like maybe 2 or so sessions of different types of exams and interviews before they were like, okay, not only do you have the depression, anxiety, which is obvious, but you have something called PTSD. I still see my doctor at least once a month to get my prescription and to update him on how things are going, so we can adjust and fix things as are. But he's been really kind and understanding so far, so I think I found a good person. I still don't like the therapy like side of it all, but if it's gonna help in the long run get rid of all the problems that people were blaming stress on, I was willing to make the sacrifice of that small discomfort to go to the therapist again. And so far it's been worth it. I don't know when. I was only told there's a possibility that I could lose my hearing in the future because it's the nerve damage and it couldn't be fixed. But so I don't know when or how long I'm gonna have my hearing, but I'm slowly trying to figure out, like, going forward, how am I going to set up my life so that I'm going to be comfortable if I'm deaf, or if it turns out that I'm never going to be healed from the mental issues. I'm happy that I got to be where I am, and despite my hearing, despite all the doubt against me, I'm happy to be where I am, and I probably wouldn't have changed it for anything else.
Being a part of the LGBT community, you know, can you tell a little bit of what you feel, whatever you feel comfortable with, because we talked about it kind of behind the camera, but what you feel comfortable with in terms of your story?
I'll start with the bomb first, because this is something that I've been trying to debate on how, when to tell people, because everybody here knows that I am engaged to my husband and I married my husband. But as you guys might know, if you know anything about LGBTQ culture in Japan, is that same-sex marriages are not recognized, not legal in Japan. They don't grant you visa rights, legal rights. You still can't get marriage certificates here. And not every city has these partnership systems.
Yeah.
Minami-san was one of them, because Fukushima is actually quite far right kind of in that idea. I've seen a few, they're trying to understand LGBTQ culture a bit more, but they're trying to see how it goes, in their words, how it goes in other areas. I haven't been back to America. I could go to America and get married to Hajime, my fiance. His name is Hajime. Like, I could get married to him there, and it would be fine, but it still wouldn't be recognized over here. The truth is, I was born a girl. So imagine all my stories up until now, up until 2016, me as a girl. I always had guy friends growing up, and most of my bullies until high school growing up were girls. And so it was inherently, I was afraid of girls. Like I had some friends that were girls, but I would always have troubles connecting to them because I didn't like what they like. Like I was more interested in what the guys like.
Yeah.
But then when I went into middle school, the big moment that made me start second guessing myself and like who I was and what I felt was when my friends, these guys that I had friends in elementary school, said they didn't want to be friends with me anymore because I was a girl. And I never thought that could be an issue. I was just like, but I was always one of you guys. How is that an issue? And so that whole year, I was just crying, didn't have any friends. And then I started making my friends who eventually were my segue into coming to Japan. And that's how that year I learned about what was called being transgendered. But during that time, it wasn't as popular or as spoken about as it is now. So there wasn't much resources about it. And since that time, I would kept telling my parents, like, I want to be a boy. Finally, when I was going into high school, like hair cut short, always baggy clothes to hide, because I was quite large chested and everything. Like I would hide myself and try to be not as masculine as possible, but to hide as much of the feminine part of me as I could. And I would always mention, like, yes, I want to be a boy. My mom was the least accepting of my entire family because I don't know why, but it doesn't matter because it didn't. Like, after I had dealt with so many instances of bullying and sexual abuse, I put my foot down, and through college, once I had my freedom, I finally started to take those steps into trying to take those steps towards being transgender. So in I think it was 2016 when I finally first met my therapist.
Raise your hand if you know for certain the syringe does not contain anti-pickle syrup.
Who diagnosed me with gender dysphoria. And I had to bring in my parents, which my mom did a whole sob story about how she raised me wrong.
Right.
And all that nonsense.
All that shit.
But I got diagnosed, and then later that year, I finally got the go-ahead after much convincing of my mom and my dad to get top surgery. And so I got top surgery, and then the following 2017 in January is when I changed my name and my gender using my online persona that I had created for myself throughout high school to give me that sense of me being a guy. I used the part of my online persona to create my middle name, which is Dashell. I started to think about, like, well, how am I going to make this work? Because my hearing could potentially go away in the future. And Japan doesn't allow same-sex marriage. So I was like, okay, how important is this gender thing to me that I am willing to keep it this way? Like, how important is it to me? Like, and I think it's I don't know how common it is for transgender people to detransitioning, but this year I just started doing, because I want to stay with him, I just started doing all the paperwork to flip back to my original gender, but keep all the things that I'm comfortable with, which is the new name I made for myself.
Yeah.
So now all my paperwork now has female written on it again.
Wow.
But so we were able to legally get married in June. My mom is thrilled that I changed it back to female, but I'm just like, I'm only doing it really because I want to get married to my fiance.
Right. Just because on paper it has it as that. That's paper.
Yeah, that's my American way of thinking too.
It has nothing to do with how you identify yourself and how you want to be identified. Is there anything, regardless of who it is or whatever, that what you want to say to people, kind of given everything we've talked about, that what you want to say to whoever, and whoever you can connect to, or whoever's watching, or who is listening.
Going through all that I have gone through with both like gender identity, my disability, language learning issues, and bullying and stuff like that. I know a lot of people always like second guess whether or not they'll be able to do something like move across to a whole new country and be able to live in a country, especially if they don't know the language, or maybe they do know the language but they are uncertain. I want to say to those people specifically, it's just don't let other people tell you otherwise. Like, if you have a disability, don't be afraid to try signing up for any job. Like, if you have the qualifications for it, or even if you don't, if you want like a stepping stone into Japan, the ALT is a great base to start with. There's resources. There's the Stonewall Japan is great for people living in Japan who are LGBTQ, who are both Japanese and English. They list events and resources all the time. As for disabilities, it's easy enough. You can look up anything online. Like, there's the Japanese Healthcare Information, I think is the name of the website. They help with English, and I think they also maybe provide other languages. Don't let anything stop you. Just go for it. And take it from me, disabilities cannot stop you from doing whatever it is you want to do. And a lot of people probably have that mindset now, but seriously, I will live by it. Just do not let anybody tell you you cannot do something. And if you do, you take their words and shove it back into their mouth and do what you want to do and show them wrong.
That is it. We are all done. That's been a neighbor's tale. Thank you, Nate, so much for coming and taking time to just taking your time and telling your story and everything. Seriously, I cannot thank you enough. Please like, comment, and subscribe, all that cutesy shit. I'll be check out the other videos we've got going on. If you got any questions about coming to Japan, working in Japan, living here, visiting here, I know with the restrictions easing, please let me know. Any comments, any questions that you have, please leave in the comment section. I'm going to go ahead and take the information that you were talking about towards the end about LGBT community. I think it was the Stonewall and stuff like that.
I'll give them to you.
Yeah, and I'll put that in the description down below. And can I put your Instagram, like your art Instagram?
Yeah, there's
thing?
not much on it, but I'll leave it.
Yes.
You can ask me questions on there too as well.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, he fucking murders it. So and I don't know. I like what you drop. But yeah, so thank you so much again for coming here. I know you've got the rest of your Monday and you got your puppies to take care of. So
you're probably destroying my walls.
So we'll get you out of here. But yeah, we're all done here. And yeah, as Diego Ramirez once said, don't be a dick. All right, don't be a dick. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anytime.